When you say Debbie does napping, my whole theater just exploded.
Debbie does napping.
That's so good.
It's ridiculous.
And it's such a big part of your character, who uses humor as like a deflection to cover up anything, whether it's the way she feels at the beginning of the movie or when she's trying to con her way into a job.
Yeah.
Is that something that that you brought to the story, or was that always a part of Brittany O'Neill?
It was always a part of the story. The real Brittany O'Neill is very funny and sweet and amazing and definitely inspiring, obviously. And but yeah, that was always part of Paul's perception of the whole film. He wanted to include the fact that a lot of times we use humor to deflect some painful things that happen in our lives. And I actually think he did a brilliant job, too, using a certain device throughout the film of when she's very uncomfortable, she sort of puts on a Cockney accent to say some truths. Mm-hmm.
How much of that was you? Like, did you ever go, I want to put in a joke, and was it ever, like, too funny? Where it's like, oh, no, this is supposed to be a very serious scene?
Wait, I think there was a couple of scenes where we were like, well, there was more scenes in this film than anything else I've ever done where we sort of were like, let's stick to the script. The scene in the beginning where I'm taking theater tickets is probably the most I improvised in the film, but throughout there was a couple spots where it felt right, and Paul was super collaborative, and we were always having conversations about the intention of the character and when she should be funny and when she shouldn't hide behind the humor, and throughout her journey.
This movie has a lot of maybe an indictment of millennial culture and our quest for likes, and it kind of, it's like they're running a different race. And this movie says, like, well, we should go back to running a race for ourselves, which in this case is a literal race.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's important to hit on what's happening right now and how social media plays into our lives. There's scenes in the movie where she's scrolling through and looking at how everyone's lives appear to be super successful. And I go through that even today, looking through and seeing like, oh, everybody's on vacation or having kids or doing this job that I'd love to do. And so it was a very relatable thing that I think Paul wanted to put into the film.
And kind of building off that, in the millennial culture, there's the great relationship you have with your roommate, Gretchen.
Yes.
Which is just such a secondary but central part of this movie, just shows those two different races and that quest for self-esteem.
Right. And also toxic friendships. Mm-hmm. That's something I don't feel like that's often hit upon in movies like this. What happens when you end up realizing that someone who you thought was your best friend is actually maybe not the person who's rooting for you to win, and ending those relationships, and that happened to me too in my 20s and early 30s. Just sort of focusing on, well, what friendships in my life sort of fill up my fountain, so to say, and which ones drain me. I thought that was a cool thing that I hadn't seen in a film before. And
I think that all adds up to what's maybe the biggest misconception about this movie, is that it's about, people might see it and think it's a movie about losing weight, when it's just so much more than that.
It's a different kind of, some people call it a transformation film, but it's different than one that I've ever seen. It's the kind of film that I would have liked to have seen when I was a young girl even. Just showcasing not just another story of someone losing weight and then they're better, that we've seen that kind of a film, and I don't think it's healthy, and it's important to show the real highs and lows of what happens when you sort of change your life in any aspect.